In 1965, Singapore was kicked out of Malaysia. It had no oil, no gold, no farmland, no large domestic market. Its population was smaller than many cities. By every conventional measure, Singapore should have struggled to survive. Instead, it became one of the richest countries on earth. Today, Singapore's economy generates more wealth per person than most Western nations. It is a global financial hub, one of the busiest ports in the world, and home to some of the largest multinational corporations. So how did a tiny island with virtually no natural resources become an economic giant? The answer begins with a stretch of water just 900 kilometers long, the Strait of Malacca, and the greatest geography lottery in modern history. Chapter 1. The most important waterway you've never heard of. Every year, trillions of dollars worth of goods move across the world's oceans. But global trade doesn't flow evenly. Instead, it funnels through a handful of strategic chokepoints: the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal, the Strait of Hormuz, and most importantly, the Strait of Malacca. Located between Indonesia and Malaysia, the strait connects the Indian Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. For ships traveling between Europe, the Middle East, India, China, Japan, and South Korea, this route is the shortest and cheapest option available. Nearly every container filled with electronics, machinery, clothing, or consumer goods moving between Asia and the rest of the world passes through this narrow corridor. And right at the southern entrance sits Singapore. It's the equivalent of owning property at the busiest intersection on Earth. Every ship passing through the region naturally moves past Singapore's shores. The island wasn't rich because it discovered resources. It was rich because global trade discovered it. Chapter 2. The perfect location. Geography alone doesn't make countries rich. If it did, every country on a major trade route would be wealthy. What made Singapore different was timing. After World War II, global trade exploded. Container shipping revolutionized transportation. Suddenly, goods could move across oceans faster and cheaper than ever before. Factories in Asia could sell products to Europe and America. European companies could source materials from around the world. The entire global economy became interconnected, and Singapore was sitting at the center of this transformation. As trade volumes increased, ships needed places to refuel, repair, unload cargo, and redistribute goods. Singapore became all of those things at once. Instead of being a destination, it became a hub, a place where goods from around the world were sorted, processed, and sent onward. The more global trade grew, the more valuable Singapore became. Chapter 3. Why most countries would have failed. Here's where many people get the story wrong. Singapore wasn't destined for success. Plenty of countries occupy strategic locations. Many remain poor. Geography creates opportunity. Policy determines whether that opportunity is captured. When Singapore became independent in 1965, unemployment was high. Ethnic tensions were common. The country lacked natural resources. Its military was weak. Many observers doubted it could survive. Yet Singapore's leaders recognized something crucial. They couldn't compete with larger countries in land, resources, or population. So they focused on efficiency. Ports became faster. Customs became simpler. Infrastructure improved. Foreign businesses were welcomed. The goal was simple: make Singapore the easiest place in Asia to do business. And it worked. As shipping volumes increased, more companies established operations on the island, which attracted even more trade, which attracted even more investment. A self-reinforcing cycle began. Chapter 4. Turning a port into an empire. Most ports simply move cargo. Singapore did something smarter. It built an entire economic ecosystem around trade. Banks arrived to finance shipments. Insurance companies arrived to protect them. Law firms arrived to resolve disputes. Technology companies arrived to support logistics. Manufacturers arrived to process imports and exports. Over time, Singapore stopped earning money only from ships. It started earning money from everything connected to ships. The port attracted finance. Finance attracted corporations. Corporations attracted talent. Talent attracted innovation. The result was one of the most sophisticated economies in the world, all built around a strategic location. Chapter 5. The new threat. But geography is never permanent. Today, Singapore faces challenges that previous generations never imagined. China is investing heavily in alternative trade routes. New ports are emerging across Asia. Technology is changing supply chains. Regional competition is increasing. Singapore's advantage is no longer guaranteed, yet the country has spent decades preparing for exactly this scenario. Instead of relying solely on shipping, it has expanded into finance, biotechnology, advanced manufacturing, artificial intelligence, and digital services. In other words, Singapore understands that geography may create wealth, but knowledge preserves it. Conclusion: Singapore won the geography lottery. It happened to sit at one of the most important locations on Earth. But geography alone didn't make it rich. Many countries receive opportunities. Few capitalize on them. Singapore took a strategic advantage and multiplied it through infrastructure, institutions, and long-term planning. The lesson isn't that geography determines destiny. The lesson is that geography creates possibilities, and few nations have exploited those possibilities more effectively than Singapore. A tiny island, no resources, no vast population, no natural advantages beyond its location. Yet by turning the world's busiest trade route into an economic engine, Singapore transformed itself from an uncertain city-state into one of the wealthiest nations on Earth. And it all started with a narrow stretch of water connecting two oceans.